Welcome, friends. My name is Rob Booker, and I'm your host for tonight's webinar. Thanks for being here. If you're watching the recording, thank you for joining us on the recording, even though it's not live. I'm super happy to be here with you and really grateful that you're spending a few moments of your time with me. A lot of these webinars are just a giant sales pitch that someone wants to get your wallet and tell you that they've got the secret to make you a bajillion dollars. So let me start off by saying, get out your wallet. I'm going to help you make a bajillion dollars. I'm just kidding. That's not actually what I'm here to do. I had a wonderful day today. I just went to Scottsdale, Arizona, and met with the owner of a radio station. And hopefully within the next 30 days or so, I'll be starting a drive time radio show about trading and about investment. And I'm kind of irreverent, and I can't wait for that to happen. And I'm kind of sharing that with you first before I tell anybody else and before it's actually all set in stone. But boy, am I happy that you're here. I'm in Gilbert, Arizona right now, and I'm hearing from you here that you're in Toronto and Singapore and British Columbia and New Jersey and Texas, Saipan, Japan. Bach is from the Netherlands. Welcome. New Hampshire and many other places. I'm really pleased to spend some time with you. And I'm going to make this presentation worth your time. I believe I'm going to make it worth the investment of about 30 minutes of your time. And I'm going to teach you something. And of course, I would like you to become a customer. I would love for you to join me in a bunch of different things that I'm doing. And of course, I'm going to send you an email that invites you to take my next trading class. And of course, I'd love for that to happen. But that's not what this presentation is about. You are spending some time here with me. And so you deserve to learn something that you probably don't already know. And I'm going to teach it to you. Now, why in the world would I spend 30 minutes of my time at 6:04 p.m. Arizona time teaching you something that you don't already know if I make my money from trading? You don't know me from a sack of coal, right? You don't know me, and I don't know you very well. I'm Rob, and I've been trading for 15 years. And why would I spend time if I've been such a successful trader? One of the big questions out there, and I think it's a legitimate question, is if I am a successful trader, why in the hell would I spend time on a webinar unless my real business is actually educating traders and I want to make a pile of money from teaching you crap that you could find out for free on YouTube? And the answer to that is that I've had a lifelong love of having people listen to the sound of my voice, and I love traders. And this is an opportunity for me to do that. So what I do in the morning is I trade the Mexican peso, which we're going to talk a little bit about tonight, and some exotic currencies. And then I spend some of my time also talking about trading and talking about the Mexican peso. And I run the Traders Podcast, which has been on the air for a bunch of years now and is available on iTunes and is absolutely free. Most of what I do is free. And some of what I do costs money, but it usually costs a very small amount of money, $27 or whatever else it is. And I'm not here tonight to sell you anything or encourage you to get your wallet out or whatever else. But I do want to explain that I have a love of traders. I love traders. I love anyone who approaches this business and tries to make it work and wants to trade for a living and wants to have some financial freedom and wants to live a life where they can do some of the things that they want. And that's important to me. I spend a lot of my time doing things that are enjoyable. Like I went to a Green Bay Packers game at Lambeau Field, and I had a shiz-tastic time. I saw this crazy band playing outside the stadium, and I bought a keyboard waffle iron. I even bought an actual waffle iron for the place I go to breakfast every day so they could make me waffles in the shape of a keyboard. I like to do that. I took my son and my daughter to New York City with my time and the money that I make from trading. And I love to spend time with my family. I love to be an idiot and jump in the pool. I love to work hard and bale hay out here in rural Arizona. Love to go fishing with my family and spend a good time. Listen, I'm a regular person who just wants to support my family, and I think you're probably very similar. And the way that I do that primarily is by trading. I do make some money from education, but it's a small amount. And it's simply that I want to be paid for some time that I invest in teaching stuff. Tonight, we're going to talk about the next big trade in FX. And what I mean by that is Do you want to learn like a really big fat trade that's coming up? Does anybody here want to learn that like for free? Like it's not going to cost you any money. Does anybody want to hear from me like, like what I think is the next big trade? You don't have to believe me or anything. But does anybody want to hear me? All right. So listen, there's no catch here. Like I'm going to show the whole damn thing to you and there's no catch. There's no like, and if you want to hear the rest of it, like there's no punchline that's coming only if you give me $27. Now there's a whole class that I'm going to offer you later on. And yes, that class will take you deeper into it, but I'm going to show you 2 or 3 huge trades coming up. And they're coming up in the next 2 months. It's going to take me a moment to explain it, and I'm not going to be able to share it with you in like 1 minute. I'm going to make it as simple as possible, not because you're dumb, but because a lot of the stuff you've probably never heard me say anything about trading. And so I want to make sure that we stay together on this. Is everybody with me? Everybody excited? Are we good? Are we good here? And yes, this is being recorded and it will be available and I'll stay in touch with you about that. I'm going to spam the shiz out of you after this. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. All right. So are you ready? Everybody good to go? All right. Stay with me here because I'm going to share a lot of information and I'm going to share it in the shortest amount of time possible because I hate wasting your time and I do have other things to do. This isn't the primary way that I make money. And this webinar is completely free and you will be able to take trades based on the information that you see here. But you've got to pay attention and you've got to follow me. Okay. Way back when, in the days when traders were trading in pits, they would look at what are called pivot points. Now, many of you are familiar with pivot points. If you're familiar with pivot points, raise your hand by giving me an amen or a yes or a, yeah, I know what pivots are, you jackass. You can do whatever you want. You can say it any way you want to say it. Let me know you know what a pivot point is. All right, amen. You know what a pivot point is. A pivot point is a horizontal level of support and resistance. Looks like this. Looks like this green line that you see on my screen right here. And I'm going to point an arrow to it right now. Right there. That's a pivot point. Pivot points can be daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. A pivot point is the high plus the low plus the close added together divided by 3. So this week's pivot point on oil, this is crude oil. This week's pivot point, does anybody like crude oil here? I love it. I love crude oil. I don't like to drink it or anything, but I like crude oil. It's a great financial instrument. This is the weekly pivot point for oil. And no surprise, I didn't plan it this way. Today, oil dropped to its weekly pivot. The weekly pivot was created by adding last week's low, high, and close together, adding those numbers together, dividing them by 3, and then it comes up with this horizontal level of support and resistance. It's a magnet for price. It never changes. It doesn't move. It stays in the same place no matter what. Now, why would I just spend 3 of our precious minutes together sharing that with you? I'm going to tell you why. Because a pivot is a magnet. It is a magnet for price in the same way that the tractor beam on the Death Star sucked in the Millennium Falcon. Oil is the Millennium Falcon, and the pivot point is the Death Star. Okay? It's going to attract price. Price wants to go to its pivot. Keep it hidden, keep it safe. The ring wants to be found, Frodo. That's what it wants. A pivot wants to be found, and it wants to be touched. Touch me. That's what the pivot says. At the beginning of every week, a pivot says to oil, touch me. It wants to be hit. A pivot wants to be touched by price. Now, pit traders in Chicago, like my old friend, oh crap, I forgot his name at the second, but my old friend used to trade in the pits in Chicago for Refco, and he wore that crazy jacket, and every day they would go into work in the pits, and they would carry a little piece of paper with them, his team, and it would list out the location of the daily, the weekly, and the monthly pivots. Because those were areas where price would be attracted to and occasionally bounce off and whatever else. Pivots are important. Let's make a note of it. So maybe put down your crack pipe for a minute and just stay with me here. Pivots are important. That's the number one thing that we're going to start with here. Pivots are important, and we're going to get to the meat of the webinar really quickly, but we got to start with this basis. Pivots are important. They're important because traders have used them for a long time. They're not magical. They were not sent by Jesus. They have not been endorsed by the Pope. President Obama doesn't use pivots. I know that they're not for everyone. I'm not telling you that it's the Holy Grail. Okay, I can't promise you that you're going to get certain results. I don't know if you're a drunken monkey. I don't know if you're a gambler. I don't know what kind of maniac you are. Listen, pivots are important. They're not magical. They don't come with fairy dust and they don't, send out like whatever. Pivots are important, but they're not the answer of everything. They're just what I like the best. And I know we have an understanding here because you know that there's no holy grail. Okay, pivots are important because they tend to be hit by price. In fact, 85% of all pivots tend to be hit in the day, week, or month they were created. Most pivots are hit in the day, week, or month they're created. So you can see here that the oil, last week it hit its pivot by prices touching the pivot. This week, price just touched the pivot. And then the week before, it didn't hit the pivot. No, price got close to it, but didn't touch the pivot. Now, the week before that, price touched the pivot. The week before that, price touched the pivot. The week before that, and blah, 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 right? Price usually hits the pivot. But when price doesn't hit the pivot, as in this week right here, that becomes what I call a missed pivot. And missed pivots tend to be hit later on. Oh, no surprise. This week, price went up and hit that phantom level that existed when a pivot from a couple of weeks ago wasn't hit. Are we doing okay here? We got the basics? Everything sound all right? Nicholas, Bobby, Robert, Terry, are we doing all right? Are you having a good time? Should I play some music? I actually don't have any music that I could play for you, but I could sing some Beach Boys for you. And I really, really, really care that we're all here together. So pivots are important. They're not magical. I'm not a genius. I'm kind of a stupid guy that just got lucky and made a shizload of money trading the markets. And really just sort of love traders very much and like to share what I do. Okay, pivots are important. Now, remember what I did here. I drew a line across the chart here when a pivot was missed. Now I'm not gonna be condescending here, and I'm sorry for whatever. Does everybody understand that I drew a line across the screen when that weekly pivot was missed and hadn't yet been hit by price? Does everybody get that? Are we okay there? Man, I love you all. This is a great crowd. I don't know who sent an email for me that got you to this webinar, but I'm gonna kiss that guy on the mouth. You are a good group of people. Whoever your mentor is that sent you to me here is a spectacular human being because obviously you're all participating. You're talking to me. Great. All right, here we go. Here we go because I'm gonna blow my own mind because I never cease to get amazed by this. I drew a line right here when price didn't hit the weekly pivot. I call that a missed pivot. And for as long as price doesn't hit it, it's called a missed pivot. I didn't invent this. I just made a shizload of money from it. Now look at all the missed pivots below the US dollar, Canadian dollar. Do you think the Canadian dollar is about to go up? Or do you think the US dollar, Canadian dollar is about to go down? Give me an answer to that. Tell me what you think. Do you think yeah, a lot of you are saying down. Yeah, down. Look at this string of missed pivots. Look at this thing. There is what I would call, this is like a San Andreas fault. This is like a underlying structural problem in the market right now that is just ever so close to cracking. I've watched this happen now for years and years and years and years and years. Now, you might not think that, you might say, I don't really know about that. Booker, I don't know you from a sack of coal. Fine. Let's take a look at the US dollar, Japanese yen. Also, in my estimation, headed for a drop. Now, it could go up. That's fine. but it's only going to give us more profit when it comes back down. We're not going to ride a loss. We're not going to carry some giant loss. We're not going to mortgage our future and throw away our children's college funds to take these trades. But look at this move. Look at the US dollar Japanese yen. Some years ago, in fact, in 2008, when a couple of stupid idiots at Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers essentially erupted the US economy into flames, the 2008 yearly pivot was missed. It wasn't hit by price in the year that it was created. The 2007 pivot was, the 2006 pivot was, the 2009 pivot was, the 2010 pivot was hit by price, the 2011 pivot was hit by price, the 2012 pivot was hit by price. The 2008 pivot was very lonely and very sad that it had not been hit by price. And we call that a missed pivot. Now, a lot of people said that's the end of the US dollar Japanese yen. That thing is over. That thing is dead. That shiz is final. Never coming back. I heard people say it's going to 50. A missed pivot was not touched by price in the day, week, month, or year it was created. This actually looks like a little face with a little mouth. Very sad. Guess what price did this year? Price got all the way back up to that level. A missed pivot wants to be hit, just like the ring of power wanted to be found. It's a magnet for price. Now, something absolutely extraordinary has happened in the last 3 years. In the last 3 years, a bunch of absolutely demented maniacs, in an effort to put the US dollar Japanese yen back at its pivot point from 2008, and we're so 2000 and late, in an effort to do that, everybody essentially priced in a shizload of rate hikes by the US Federal Reserve that never materialized and haven't even happened yet. And the US dollar Japanese yen would climb even though interest rates in the US were falling or staying at zero. And an unprecedented amount of unbelievable stuff went down. We missed the 2013 yearly pivot, the 2014 yearly pivot, and the 2015 yearly pivot were all missed. Holy crapajoli. That's incredible. That's incredible. And it's not likely to ever happen again. In our lifetimes, this is like the Halley's Comet smashing into the moon and sending the moon flying towards planet Earth until Bruce Willis and Keanu Reeves get into a spacecraft and Samuel L. Jackson directs their efforts to blow up the moon in order to save everyone on Earth. This is essentially as likely to happen as that ever again in our lifetimes. Because yearly pivots just don't get missed like this often. And right below where we are right now sits the 2015 yearly pivot and a somewhat wonderful situation. So are you ready for the rest of this here? You ready for the rest, everybody? Everybody, we only got about 10 minutes left here. All right, Ron's ready for the rest. Karen, thank you for participating. I love this. All right, there we go. Boom shakalaka. All right, here's the rest of it. And now I'm going to tell you something that's just wonderful and extraordinary and amazing and fantastic. Typically, a missed pivot wants to be hit later in the year, later in the month, later in the week, later in the day. Write that down. No one's going to tell you that. It's just, it's like a little secret between us. It's not really a secret. Like, I don't know any secrets. I don't know shiz for secrets, but that's kind of my secret. Later in the year. And guess where we are right now? We're later in the year. This isn't some sales ploy. I'm like literally telling you, I don't give a crap if you ever buy anything from me. I don't care. I just want you to make money. And I want everybody I know to, to force this down. The dollar yen wants to go back to its 2015 yearly pivot that it never hit, down to 114.67. Let's look at my favorite currency of all time. This is the biggest of them all. US dollar, Mexican peso. Oil got the crap beat out of it. Oil got its lunch money stolen. Oil got smacked in the head. And so Mexico, which relies on oil, its currency just got walloped. It got shellacked. It got slammered over the course of the last couple of years. And the Mexican peso has been falling in value, and the US dollar has been rising against it. But we are at a critical time right now, near the end of 2015, when the US dollar Mexican peso is about to make an extraordinary move lower. Potentially. Maybe not. Maybe it won't do it. Write down this number. 16.35 on the US dollar Mexican peso. That's my level. It could get there actually on Tuesday of next week. That's how fast this currency pair moves. This currency pair moves lightning fast and moves right to its profit targets. And it's one of the most reliable financial instruments in the world, and nobody cares about it because it's weird. It's forgotten. It's secret. It doesn't matter to people. People are like, whatever. I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to look at the euro. The euro? Come on. Where are you from? What's wrong with you looking at the euro? The euro is like so 2001. If you haven't noticed, like Europe's a friggin' mess. Mexico's where it's at. This is an opportunity which no one else is going to talk about. But below the lows for the year so far, below 16.35, this currency pair is going to go for the 2015 yearly pivot, which is something like, it's so many, I can't even describe. It's like 20,000 pips or points lower than where we are right now. And all it has to do is break some support to start that whole trade off. 16.35 sell. Let's look at some other currency pairs. Since I know that some of you don't just want to look at my Mexican peso situation. Here's the Australian dollar, US dollar, weekly chart. Australian dollar's been kicked in the teeth as well. Gold has gotten slammered as well. Gold stayed out too late with its buddies and woke up in the middle of the street in a pool of its own vomit. And the Australian dollar got carried down with it because Australia is famous for exporting rocks to China, essentially. And China doesn't want as many rocks anymore because they realize that they're not growing as strong as they thought they were. Now, I don't think this is as good of a trade here because gold is not the greatest asset in the world right now. And Australia's economy is heavily tied to China. And China's economy is heavily tied to a black box system that no one knows what is really going on and is immensely indebted in the real estate market, and no one knows. This could fall further. This is not ready yet. And as I might add, it's not missed multiple yearly pivots. So it's cool shiz, but it's not great. Here's the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. A lot of people were caught off guard recently when the US dollar, New Zealand dollar started just blowing the roof off of everybody's price targets. And we had a target of 68.50 on this. It blew through that and got just a little bit higher than that. Why did we have that price target? Because we've missed a couple of significant pivots. We've missed some levels and we've traveled too far too fast. And the New Zealand dollar recovered a lot of that lost ground. But this trade is kind of over. And so we can't really talk about that as the big trade in FX. Let's look at the euro. Stupid, idiotic currency pair. This 2015 yearly pivot will be missed. The Eurozone has literally been trashed so badly that it's going to be very difficult for that to recover in 2015. Remember, the dollar yen and the dollar Mexican peso, they've missed multiple yearly pivots and stuff. So even though the euro has missed some pivots, it doesn't mean it's ready to move upward. You can write this number down, however. If the euro breaks 1.1730, I swear, remember this a year from now, because this is when it's going to happen. Like 1 year from now, if it breaks 1730, it's going to go 500, 600, 700 points, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to day trade this to take advantage of that. It's got missed pivots to get to. Look at the stacks of missed pivots up there and no missed pivots below. There are immensely wonderful targets on that. Now, we're only looking at currencies right now, but we can't look at, well, I guess we could look at Tesla. You could look at a stock. You could look at Apple. Apple used to have 7 bajillion missed pivots. I forgot about this. We sold Apple over on our website when everybody thought you're an idiot for doing that. And we sold Apple. because it had 7 bajillion missed pivots below, and it just rammed through them all like a china in a bull shop, or the other way around. And our target was 96 bucks. I was shocked that that worked. I actually got caught off guard. I forgot about this chart completely. You can do this with stocks. Now, how am I doing all this? I'm on tradingview.com. If you go to tradingview.com, you can sign up for free. I'm not selling you anything on tradingview.com. You can right click on your chart and insert indicator, scroll down and choose pivot points standard, double click on any of the pivot points and choose time frame, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Style, just get rid of all these support and resistance levels. Those are useless and stupid. And just keep the pivot point, then color it something that you want to color it, and then you're good to go. And it's tradingview.com. It's totally free. Now, if you think that I'm an amazing human being, which I'm not, but if you think I am, you can also scroll down here on the left side of your screen, and you can choose the Rob Booker indicator package, and you'll get these cool missed pivot lines and some other indicators. But I'm not here to sell anything to you. This is actually free. You could actually go on tradingview.com right now. These charts go with you anywhere. They're browser based. They don't cost any money. You can take them with you on the road. You can use them from your iPad and blah, 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 blah. Sales pitch, sales pitch, sales pitch. And that's how you do it. Let's go back to the Mexican peso. Okay, so what's true for the Mexican peso on a yearly basis is true for the Mexican peso on a daily basis. My associates and I at TFL 365, that's my membership website, we trade the Mexican peso in the morning every day. And what we do in the morning is we mark a time at 12 p.m. New York time, lunchtime in New York, when everybody's just about to go out for their 46 martini lunch. 12 p.m. Remember this time, 12 p.m. every day, the US dollar Mexican peso makes a reversal, or tries to make a reversal, and tries to get up to a level like a pivot every single friggin' day. And it might only be a very small move, and it might not last very long, but it's stunningly reliable over and over and over again. If you want to plot something reliable on your charts, I would ask you to plot the pivots. I showed you how to get the indicator. If you didn't understand me, you can watch the recording of this video. Now, did we have a reasonably good time? I'll look at the S&P 500, and then I'll ask you that question. Did we have a good time? And if you had a good time, let me know. The website we're on right now is tradingview.com. I'm so happy you were all here. Thank you so much for being here. Did you learn something? Did everybody get something out of it? I hope I didn't waste your time. Did you learn something? All right. Thank you for being here, everybody. All right. Now I'm going to give you the little pitch. Okay. I get 1 minute here. I'm going to give you a quick pitch. From time to time, I teach a class. Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not here tonight to tell you that if you join my class, I'm going to make you a bajillionaire. Although that's probably true. You probably will. I'm just kidding. But I do have a class on the Mexican peso going on right now. And I'm going to send you out a link with a discount code right now. This is like kind of a private page that only the people that are already on my email list and members get. And I'll send that link out. It's inside the webinar software on the right-hand side of the screen. And what that is a class on how we trade the Mexican peso every day and how we trade the Mexican peso from those long-term charts. I will also send this link to you by email. I'm not going to make you a giant sales pitch with a lot of promises. I'm not going to say, and that's not all, it slices tomatoes. I'm not going to give you all that bullshit. I'm not going to do that. This is the real deal and it works. I don't need to say anything else. This is the most consistent strategy I've ever used. I'd love for you to be with me. There's no secret. It's 27 bucks. It's not there's not some monthly fee. There's not some $12 bajillion thing on the other side. I offer you the chance to do some webinars with me as part of it. But, whatever. And we will look in my account, and I'm going to trade one of my trading accounts live in a bunch of webinars as well. This is sounding too much like a sales pitch, and I don't really give a crap about that. So thank you. I hope you'll join me, but if this is the last time we ever meet, should our paths cross on a train and you never bought my class, please don't introduce yourself. But if you did buy the class, please come up and tell me what a terrible class it was, or what a great time you had. And I'd love to have a conversation with you. Let me show you my screen here so you can see. I just pulled it up, so I finally got everything working. Here's what the screen will look like when you follow that link. You'll have a little video here that plays. You'll see a little screen that looks like this, and you'll be able to maybe join the class. Thanks everyone for being here. I will send out a email to you in about a day with a link to this recording where you can watch it. I'll probably put it up on YouTube or something like that. Make it really easy for you to watch and share with your friends, neighbors, associates, countrymen, fellow Russians. I don't know, whatever else. I hope you have the best day ever of all time and forever. Thanks for being here. My name is Rob Booker, and you've been here in the next big trade in FX webinar. See you next time.